Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Just give us your name and spelling.
Okay.
Do that for an audio.
Perfect. So I'm Kimball Parker, Kimball. So actually, I'm gonna start that over. I'm Kimball Dean Parker, Kimball. Middle name Dean, Dean, and last name Parker, Parker.
And what's your title here? You work with SixFifty or?
I'm the founder and CEO of SixFifty.
No. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Actually,
Okay.
sorry, I'm like having a little bit of issues.
No problem.
Come in late and have my
Does it sound okay for?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll try to stay as still as possible.
Okay.
So, I'm a pacer.
He's like, it's finicky one.
Oh, up in the front. Up there. But that's what I use to like label all my gear.
Oh, you're just on the switch.
Yeah.
Didn't know which one they are. And then there was also back in the workshop for it. Not a bad idea. Yeah, it was originally blue. That blue, yeah, just some.
No, just all static.
That's just cable disconnect.
Wait. I think now just, when you start filling it.
And then my show, and I'm like, the big thing I don't think is
Nice.
Okay, I don't want my clients being all these shots, so just let me know.
You can scoop mine, you can scoop those in if you need to do this side, yeah.
Is this good?
Yeah.
Can you guys see it? Or is it?
Yeah, okay, you're okay.
Thanks, guys, sorry about that.
Okay. You got audio, Gabe?
Test, test. Should I do that again?
Yeah, name, rank, and serial number, please.
I am, my name is Kimball Parker. I'm the founder and CEO of SixFifty. 650 is a Utah-based technology company that offers automated employment and privacy legal documents for companies. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Just spell your first name for us again, just for everyone's sake.
So Kimball Dean Parker. So that's Kimball, Kimball, Dean, Dean, and Parker, Parker.
Whenever you're ready to go.
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay.
Go ahead, we're good.
Okay, you're good? Okay. So first I want to say thank you so much for coming. This means so much to me and my team and everybody involved in this project who spent so much time and effort and put a lot of thought into it. So thank you so much for covering it, and we hope it does. We hope it does a lot of good. As I mentioned, my name is Kimball Parker. I'm the CEO and founder of 650. I'm going to tell you a little bit about 650 later. I will make a short statement, and after my statement, I'll be followed by Jim McConkey, who is the founder, one of the founders of the Refugee Justice League. The Refugee Justice League collaborated with us on this project. After Jim, you will hear from Katarina Kravchenko, who is from Ukraine. She was born in the Donbass region and then moved to Kiev. And Katarina is a graduate student at BYU studying linguistics. And Katarina helped us translate this tool into Ukrainian so that it could be used by Ukrainians without the need of a translator. After Katarina, you will hear from Yeva Malejic. Excuse me. Yeva is from Ukraine, was born and raised in Kiev. She spent some time in the United States, about 6 years in the United States, and then returned to Ukraine about a year ago. And she escaped Ukraine on March 2nd, traveled for 57 hours to make it here to the United States. Yeva also speaks perfect, just like Katarina speaks perfect English. And Yeva helped us with Katarina to help us translate the tool into Ukrainian. And then after Yeva, you will hear from Lena Kravchenko, who is Katarina's mother. Lena and Yeva traveled here together. So they escaped Ukraine on March 2nd, traveled 57 hours and arrived here in the United States on March 4th. And so Yeva and Lena and Katarina are staying with a family here in Utah while during the Russian invasion. Okay. All right. So I'm going to begin my speech now. Great. So going home is not an option for many Ukrainians right now. There are 75,000 Ukrainians who are in the United States temporarily and whose time in the country will end in the next several months. The applications to stay in the United States are inaccessible to most Ukrainians. They are long and complicated and confusing, and they are only available in English. At SixFifty, we specialize in automating complicated legal documents for companies. For example, we can automate employee handbooks and hiring paperwork that account for the laws in every state in the nation. And when we saw how difficult these forms were and how difficult it would be for Ukrainians to file these applications, we felt an obligation to act. And we automated the applications to stay in the United States, and then we translated the product into Ukrainian. And our offering functions a lot like TurboTax. So our system asks Ukrainians a series of questions in English and Ukrainian, and then our system takes those answers and fills out the documents in English. So with these new tools, all you need is a phone and a computer and a few hours to apply and to stay in the United States. Thank you very much. Any questions before I pass time off to Katarina? Okay.
Or is it Jim?
Or Jim, sorry, Jim. That's right.
I'll just take a very brief moment. The Refugee Justice League has been around for 4 years, and it was organized to allow attorneys in Utah to volunteer on a pro bono basis to assist refugees, particularly if they had been the subject of discrimination. The league grew very quickly. We have now over 800 attorneys, and we have worked with SixFifty in the past on other projects that have been directed to help refugees. For example, to keep them in their homes and not be evicted from their apartments during the COVID crisis. And you may not know this, and Kimball didn't say it, that they developed 2 great programs that were used by thousands of people to keep refugees in their homes and in their apartments. Again, this is a collaboration, and we're very pleased to be able to work with them. We have attorneys who are anxious to use this program and to help Ukrainians stay in the country. One of the problems for an organization like ours is that the attorneys don't have expertise in immigration law and all of the ins and outs, and it's a specialty that most attorneys don't know much about. But what SixFifty has done is put together a program that makes it possible for people like me who work in the area of torts to help refugees, the Ukrainian people, become situated in the United States on a sound basis so that they can stay and not be in violation of the law. And knowing that is a welcoming gesture, knowing that they have filled out the paperwork that the government approves of them being here, is something that's comforting to refugees and others that are displaced. So we're glad to help. There are attorneys all over the nation that have expressed interest in this. Wilson Sansini, they have offices all over the United States. It's one of the largest law firms. I have a number of people that want to volunteer. And the last number that I heard of attorneys that have spoken up and said, we want to help, is about 2,000. But I expect that number will grow. So Kimball, thank you again for allowing us to work with you and to support this program.
Good morning. My name is Katarina Kravchenko, and as Kimball mentioned, I was born in the Donbas region in a city called Donetsk. but I lived most of my life in Kiev, in the capital of Ukraine. I used to spend every summer in Donetsk until 2014 when the war first started there, and I haven't been to my hometown since. Since 2016, I've been studying at BYU, and currently I'm getting my master's degree in linguistics there. I met Kimball Parker, the CEO of SixFifty, through the Porter's family, who my mom is staying with since she was able to escape the war on March 2nd and come here together with Yeva Malezhik. Working on this tool is an incredible opportunity for me who loves languages, and also for me as a Ukrainian who wants to help fellow Ukrainians here in the United States. Languages are kind of my thing. I love languages, I speak 4 languages, but the first time I looked at the forms that the Ukrainian people would have to fill out to apply for temporary protected status or for the asylum, it got me stressed out just by looking at those forms. There's a lot of immigration terminology, law terminology that I'm not familiar with, and I'm sure people who don't speak English very well also, it will be very hard for them to understand. Knowing that this tool exists gives me comfort that people who don't speak English, like my mom who came here, she doesn't speak English, but they would be able to go through the application and fill it out, and they would have the instructions in Ukrainian, so anyone can apply for this and know what they have to do and how to get help, because the Ukrainian translation is available. It means a lot to me. This process was really interesting for us and a really great opportunity. There were a lot of moments where it's not just about the translation, it's also about the culture and things like that. For example, in the forms, they ask for a middle name, but Ukrainians don't have middle names. Instead, we all have patronymics or father's name. So we had to, talk about that in the instructions and explain that. Or also, there's no word for siblings or spouse in Ukrainian. So we would have to go through all the questions and specify that this is sister/brother or husband/wife, things like that. Being so far away from home is difficult in a time like this, because sometimes you feel helpless, sometimes you feel guilty for being safe while people you love go through something so horrifying, such as war. But being able to help with this tool and knowing that we could do something valuable for thousands of Ukrainians who might need help here in the US, it gives me comfort and it means a lot to me. Today, also this morning, we were able to receive some good news from family. My mom's brother, so my uncle, my cousin, and my nephew, they live in Hostomel, which is a little town right outside of Kiev, and the battles in that town started on the first day of war on February 24th. And we lost contact with our family members on March 3rd, but this morning we finally received a phone call, and they let us know that they're alive and well and everything is okay. So this morning was a great moment for our family. Like I said, this program and this tool and what SixFifty is doing, it means the world to us. I think for a lot of people who come here to seek help, it's gonna be incredible, and I truly believe that something like this could save lives. Thank you.
Could you just say and spell your name for us?
Yes, it's Katerina Kravchenko, Kateryna Kravchenko.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Yeva Malezhik. I am 16 years old, and I was born and raised in Kiev, Ukraine. I came to America in 2016 for my cousin's wedding here and stayed for almost 6 years. A year ago, in December of 2020, I had to go back to Ukraine for a year with my parents. I had to, after Russia invaded my country on the second day of war, me and my parents knew that it wasn't safe to stay at our house anymore because the airplane got shot down in my neighborhood and fell down on a house. So me and my parents and Katerina's parents, we got together and we left to my friend's house, her relative's house. They live in Chernovtsi. It's by the border of Romania. And we stayed there for 4 days. After 4 days, my parents said that it wasn't safe for me to stay here and decided to send me to the Portis family. And they were so lovely to have us there. And I'm so grateful that they had us. Then my mom and Lena's husband, they both drove us out to Hungary. We had to cross the border of Romania and Hungary. It took us 33 hours. We spent a night there. And then in Budapest, we flew out with Lena to Amsterdam. And then from there to Salt Lake City. My dad and my brother couldn't come with us because men from 18 to 60 can't leave the country. From here, the Porter family connected us with Kimball Parker, who gave us an incredible opportunity to work on this stool. And when you're in constant stress of not knowing what's happening with your family and friends, of the work overall is just horrible and terrifying. You can't think, when will your visa expire? And so when I looked at the forms, it just gave me so much anxiety because, like, as a 16-year-old, I wouldn't be able to fill that out all by myself because I came here by myself. And I was just so stressed about it. But if it was in Ukrainian, and it would have been so much easier. So me and Katya, we had an opportunity to help with translation. And it was just so amazing and incredible experience with Kimball and his team. And it was just an amazing opportunity for both of us. Yeah, do you guys have any questions?
Can you spell your name for us?
Yes, my name spells EVA, and my last name is Malezhyk.
Could you pronounce it one more time for us?
Malezhyk.
Could you pronounce that?
Malezhyk.
Thank you.
This is my mom, Lena Kravchenko, so LenaKravchenko. Мы с Евой Малежик приехали из Киева через Румынию, Венгрию и Голландию. So they, together with Yeva, they came here first from Kiev, and then they were in Western Ukraine, and they crossed the border with Romania, then to Hungary, and then they went to Amsterdam. From Amsterdam, they were able to fly to Salt Lake. Нас в Юте встретили замечательные люди. Семья Портер, которая окружила нас любовью. И замечательные люди, которые окружают нас здесь, в Юте, и делают все необходимое для нас. An incredible family met us here, the Porters, and they're just so many people that do a lot for us, and they surrounded us with love and care.
И несмотря на все ужасы войны, которую мы видим и наблюдаем, сегодня был замечательный день. Сегодня мой брат вышел на связь со своей семьей. 36 дней мы ничего не знали о них, и не было с ними связи.
And despite all the horrors of the war, today was a good day for our family because today we were able to hear from my mom's brother and his family. For 36 days, there was no connection with them. We didn't know if they were alive or not, but today we finally know that they're okay.
Спасибо этой программе, которую Кимбал организовал, и за помощь всем людям, которые нуждаются в этом.
And we're very grateful for Kimball Parker and 650s and what they're doing because it is a tremendous help for the people in need right now, for Ukrainians in need.
Не хватит всех слов и благодарности, которые я могу выразить всем.
There are no words to express how grateful we are. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to provide a little detail about how the program works, you can access the tool at 650.com/Ukraine. All the instructions and the landing pages are in both English and Ukrainian. Once you create an account, it'll then run you through, just like TurboTax would, through the application. So it'll ask you for your full name and your address, and question by question through the application in both languages. And then once a user finishes with that experience, then we email them a copy of the completed forms. And we recommend that they use this tool with an attorney, but it can also be used without an attorney if that's not possible. And so this is an example of our website here. So you can see we have kind of English text here, and then at the bottom of this page, and this is a copy of 650.com/Ukraine. Here at the bottom, we have some Ukrainian language that says, do you speak Ukrainian? If so, click this button. And so when they click this button here, then the page will flip to Ukrainian, and they'll be able to go through the entire experience in their own language.
About how long does it take to go through and fill out all the information?
We think that it'll take between 1 to 3 hours to go through these applications, depending on how complicated the application is. So if you are, for example, if you are a family and you have several children who you want to, and you all want to seek asylum, that could take you up to 3 hours, or more. If you are like Yeva and you're here alone, that could take you 45 minutes or an hour to complete.
Once you get it completed and you submit it, does that have to go through a process to get, and then if it does, how long does that take before it's quote unquote official, I guess?
Yeah, very good question. So there are two paths here. So we've automated two applications. The first is for asylum. Asylum is a long application process, and this fills out the very first application. And that's very important because you need to file that application within a certain time when you're within the country. Now, after you file that application, that fixes your date. And then from there, there's a long application. There's a further process. You have to meet in person, and we connect all of the applicants with. We give them links to legal help and attorneys to help them through the rest of the application process. So they'll need to meet in person with government officials that'll verify the information that they put in their forms. And so that entire asylum application process can take years. But during that process, Ukrainians can apply to work and they can be here legally while that process is being considered by the U.S. government. So that's asylum. The U.S. has opened up a second way for Ukrainians to stay in the country, and that's through temporary protected status. And so the U.S. designated Ukraine for temporary protected status on March 3rd. And what that means is that Ukrainians that are here temporarily, they can apply to stay for 18 more months. So the asylum application is more permanent. Once you get asylum, you can stay here forever. The temporary protected status, you could stay for 18 more months. And so that application process is much quicker and less burdensome than the asylum application. The paperwork is actually in some ways harder, but there's less follow on for temporary protected status than there is for asylum.
After that 18 months, if it, heaven forbid, if it's still going on and they want to reapply, can they reapply? And how many times can they do that before it's like, okay, just get asylum?
So yeah, I think that's to be determined. To be determined whether the U.S. will extend temporary protected status past that 18 months. Ukrainians can apply for both. So they can apply for asylum and in the meantime apply for temporary protected status or vice versa. The timing with asylum though is very important. You need to apply within 1 year of when you arrived in the country. Now for Ukrainians that are already here, like Katarina, she's been here for over a year. She's been a student at BYU. It basically needs to be 1 year from the time that you feared going home. So Ukrainians really, will have basically until March 2023, let's say, to apply, to have a good case to apply for asylum.
Is this just in Utah or is this any in the U.S.?
Any Ukrainian can use this anywhere in the United States. This can also be used at any borders or ports of entry where there are Ukrainians trying to get into the country. So there are thousands of Ukrainians at the U.S.-Mexico border, and this can be used by attorneys down there or by Ukrainians themselves to expedite their paperwork to get it filed.
And is this just being launched now, or has this been out since the beginning of March?
This is launched today.
Oh.
So we started the effort. So when the U.S. government, well, actually, let me back up. When Russia invaded Ukraine, we tried to think of ways that we could help. Again, we specialize in automating complicated legal documents, and so we looked for legal documents to help. And so on March 3rd, the U.S. government announced that Ukraine would be designated for temporary protected status. And when that happened, we looked at the temporary protected status form. And I think that we provided that to you. It is the most complicated government form I have ever seen. So it requires Ukrainians to fill in over 300 pieces of data. And like Katarina said, the form uses nuanced immigration language, nuanced legal language. And so when we looked at that form, and the form is only available in English. And so it's just impractical. It is impractical to expect a Ukrainian to be able to go through and fill out those forms. And so we realized that early on after the announcement for temporary protected status, and that's when we started to work on this. And so we automated the temporary protected status form. That took 3 to 4 weeks. And then we also realized that asylum was an avenue as well for people. And so we took both of those efforts up in tandem and automated both of those forms. We finished automating them in English last week, to a point where we felt good about the product. And then this whole week, basically starting on Friday, last Friday, and then this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we worked with Yeva and Katarina in our offices all day from 8:30 a.m. I guess, when did I pick you up? 8:30? 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day to run through the entire system to make sure that it was in in accessible, easy to understand Ukrainian.
Going off of that, just talk about how invaluable these ladies were to you in getting this ready and up and running.
Yeah, so let me say, I am amazed by Katerina and Yeva. These are two of the smartest people I have ever worked with in my life. So both of them speak perfect English, as you saw here. They also speak perfect Ukrainian and perfect Russian, and they can move between those languages seamlessly. Katarina also speaks Norwegian. And so they were able to translate very nuanced legal language into understandable Ukrainian. It was incredible. And they helped us think through how to make the language more accessible in English. So, they didn't just help on the Ukrainian and the Russian side. They also tested the tool, from a non-lawyer's perspective to make sure that it was easy to use. We made engineering changes because of things that they suggested, and there's no way that we could have done this without them. Oh yes, yeah. We have we're offering a webinar. Nye, what are the details of that webinar? When is that? It's
April 6th.
April 6th at 11 a.m. Mountain. Okay, yeah. So we're offering a webinar about how to use the tool with some of the people who built the tool and with some immigration attorneys who helped us build it. That webinar will be April 6th at 11 a.m. Mountain. And you can find more information about that at SixFifty.com.
So Kimball, I know on the question about 18 months, does it roll over?
Yeah.
Generally, it rolls over as long as the conflict goes. So that can roll over for years and years and years without having to reapply.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You're right. If the conflict is ongoing.
What time did it launch this morning?
It launched at 5 a.m. Eastern.
Was anyone decent?
Gosh, I don't know that. I can get back to you on that. I can have our team check.
You also said that you're advising people to have a lawyer to help fill this out.
Yeah.
For those who might not be able to afford a lawyer or have access to one, is there any way that you can get connected with a lawyer in order to fill this out with them?
Yes. So we built this tool for people who could not afford an attorney. And so by building it for people who can't afford an attorney, for people without an attorney, it also interestingly makes it easier for attorneys to run through that process too. So somebody without an attorney can run through the entire process, apply for temporary protected status, and then when they download the application, we give them a cover sheet with instructions on how to submit their application as well. And so somebody can run through this completely without an attorney. Now, if they want an attorney, we have linked up with a nonprofit group. So we've linked up with the Refugee Justice League and a nonprofit group called Lawyers for Good Government. Through those two organizations, like Jim mentioned, there are over 2,000 volunteer attorneys who can help. And so we direct them into the sign-in forms for those two programs to link them with attorneys.
Obviously, this is good for refugees coming over, but is this also a good lesson for attorneys to say it doesn't have to be that complicated?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think there are instances in the law where the need overflows the amount of help that attorneys can give. So that there are only 7,000 to 8,000 attorneys in Utah right now. That amount, those attorneys do not have enough expertise to service all of the Ukrainians in Utah who need to apply for these, who need to fill out these applications. And so the only way to service that amount of need is through scaling it by technology. And so we do that for companies. This is what we do all day. We automate complicated forms and then we distribute it to thousands of companies to lower the cost and to make it more accessible. And so we wanted to use those same technologies and those same methodologies here for people. and then we're offering it for free.
How long would this take someone if they how long do you think it would take someone if they try to fill it out by themselves, like just the form without the system?
Gosh, I think it could take days. So let's, if you kind of think and play that out, let's someone like Lena who doesn't speak English, right? They would have to get the form. They would have to find an English Ukrainian speaker to help them understand each part of the form. That Ukrainian speaker likely will not understand the nuances of some of the language in that form, so then they may need to find an attorney. I mean, to me, it seems like an impossible task. But I guess if someone were to run through it, making all of those connections start to finish could take weeks or months to do. And here, they can fill it out asynchronously without anybody needing to be there on their own time. Somebody can come in, use the tool, answer 10 questions, leave, log back in, answer more questions. And so we try to make it as easy as possible for them.
Now that you have the digital framework in place, is there any plans to maybe extend this to other groups that have TPS status?
Yeah, such a great question. So there are several other countries that are designated for temporary protected status. In fact, Afghanistan was just designated for temporary protected status just a week after Ukraine. And so this framework, we already have all the framework ready to take this application and translate it into any other language. Into Spanish, Venezuela is under temporary protected status, Haiti, French, Afghanistan with Farsi. And so we plan to expand this and to make it accessible to other nations in need as well.
I wonder if they have questions for any of the.
That's right. Any questions for Katarina, Eva, or Lena?
They'll be here for interviews, so that's probably what you want to do.
Well, listen, thank you so much. This, I think PR is a big part of how we hope to distribute the tool, to make it known and available to people who need it. So thank you so much for coming and taking an interest in this story. And then any follow-up, you can ask me questions or you can pull Katarina, Eva, and Lena aside.
Thank you.
Thank you.